What's up, vinyl community? It's your boy Chris coming at you live as always from the man cave. Wanted to take a little bit of time today to wish a happy belated birthday to the late great middleweight champion of the saxophone, Hank Mobley. A belated birthday. And on this video, I wanted to take a little bit of time to do 5 albums I just felt like talking about Hank Mobley style. All 5 albums by Hank Mobley. And I decided to go with 5 that I don't feel get talked about very much. Everybody knows Soul Station, everybody knows Roll Call, everybody knows The Turnaround, everybody knows Workout. You guys know all of those. They're talked about frequently here in the VC. They're talked about frequently when discussing Mobley. And for good reason. They're all immortal classics. I've showed every one of them on videos on my channel before, I have no doubt. And also No Room for Squares, one of my personal favorites. But I wanted to go with 5 that I don't feel get talked about quite enough in honor of the middleweight champion of the saxophone, Hank Mobley, the heavyweight champion, widely known as John Coltrane. The thing about Mobley and his tone, Mobley had a very relaxed, very smooth, very easygoing, easy on the ears kind of tone, but it was always precise and it was always melodic, and it always kept you interested no matter what, and it was consistent. It was always consistent. It was a consistent tone. It didn't go too far out there. It wasn't necessarily the most easygoing tone in the world. It wasn't, there were people who definitely had a more laid-back tone, but Mobley, he's not, Coltrane, he's not Sonny Rollins, he's not, the heavyweight power tone of the saxophone. He's a middleweight champ and known for a reason. Very relaxed stuff, very great stuff, and I think that time has done the legendary Hank Mobley a great service, because at the time, a lot of people used to not take Hank as seriously because Hank wasn't Coltrane or Hank wasn't Sonny Rollins. Hank was a lot more relaxed, a lot more easygoing, but always a precise and melodic tone. And I know a lot of people who say Hank Mobley is their favorite saxophonist. Yeah, mine's Train, but I wouldn't argue with anybody on that. I love Hank Mobley. So, first album I want to talk to you guys about is Hank Mobley with Donald Byrd and Lee Morgan, and also referred to as Hank Mobley Sextet. Relatively recent acquisition of mine. This is actually a 1983 Japanese reissue. You guys can see all the fun stuff that comes with Japanese pressing. It's all written in Japanese, of course. This one is without OBI, but I don't really care about that at the end of the day. Still got that gorgeous Blue Note label. But Hank Mobley with Donald Byrd and Lee Morgan. Just let that marinate for a second there, guys. This great record was recorded in November 25th, 1956, and released in March of 1957. Features, of course, Hank Mobley on tenor, Donald Byrd and Lee Morgan on the trumpets. Donald Byrd and Lee Morgan on the trumpets. Come on, guys. That's like 2 top 5 trumpeters, in my opinion, of all time on this record. Horace Silver, my second favorite pianist of all time, on the keys. Paul Chambers on the bass and Charlie Persip on the drums. This is a great record, guys. This is a really great record, and I really like it. And all compositions written by Hank Mobley. Written and composed by Hank Mobley. So to say that this record blows is to say it in the best possible way. Mobley, Byrd, and Morgan, guys. Just, man, if you're a fan of horns, then you've got to get it into your life. Just trust me when I tell you. Yeah. Man, if you're a fan of the horns, this one's for you. All day. Every day. Next up, I want to talk about Hank Mobley, self-titled. Great record. This is my Classic Records pressing. Yeah, Classic Records pressing. And the Classic Records reissues, guys, I highly recommend to anybody. They're great. They are stellar. I even once sold a Liberty pressing of a Lee Morgan album just to get a Classic Records pressing, because I thought the Classic Records pressing sounded better, and if I couldn't have the original, I wanted the best sounding version of the LP that I could get. So I just did that a couple of months ago, actually. But this one's great. This was recorded June 23rd, 1957, and released in June of 1958. So almost a full year to get this great album out. Only one of 5 were composed by Mobley. But, a couple others composed by other members, obviously, on the album. Bill Hardman on the trumpet, Curtis Porter on the alto and tenor sax, Hank on the tenor, Sonny Clark, the great Sonny Clark on the piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Art Taylor, one of my favorite drummers of all time, on the kit. Remarkable album, great listen, very consistent. Going to be, one of the earlier records released in Hank's career, Blue Note 1568. And guys, I highly recommend these jazz classic records pressings, and not just the jazz, but like for example, just as a quick deterrent. I know I'm talking about Mobley here, but I know a lot of people who think that all of the Led Zeppelin classic records pressings are the best pressings they've ever heard of those Led Zeppelin albums. Seriously, I know a lot of people who say that. They're expensive as hell, though. Next up, one of my personal favorites by Mobley, Peckin' Time. Hank Mobley and Lee Morgan, credited to both of these great guys, both of these great and legendary musicians. Mine is a Japanese pressing with the OBI, and it features, of course, Hank Mobley on the tenor, Lee Morgan on the trumpet, Wynton Kelly, one of my favorite pianists, on the piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Charlie Persip again on the kit. Mobley and Morgan just work so well together. They just work so well together. And as you can see from several of these albums that I'm going to talk to you guys about, there's a reason I picked them all. It's Mobley, one of my favorite tenors, and Morgan, my absolute favorite trumpeter. This one cooks. This is a seriously great album, guys. I love it. I love every note. I love everything about it. I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of Mobley and Morgan, there's no going wrong with this one. One of these days, this one could belong to one of you guys because, again, I'm going to be all about getting that original, but this one goes for serious cash. Serious Skrilla, if you will. But pretty cool because it's also a white label promo. So it's a Japanese white label promo. The only one I have in my collection like that. When I saw it, I had to have it, obviously. It'll be a very nice, and this one's mint. Like, you could eat off of this one. Came, in the shrink wrap when I got it, but you guys know your boy. I wasn't holding on to that damn shrink wrap. I hate that shit. But I hate shrink wrap almost as much as I hate the Macarena. Almost, but not quite. All right, next up, wanted to take some time to talk about Dippin' by Hank Mobley, obviously, featuring, Lee Morgan. Again, reoccurring theme, right? Lee Morgan on the trumpet, Hank himself on the tenor, Harold Mayburn Jr. on the piano, Larry Ridley on bass, and Billy Higgins on the drums. This is a phenomenal record. Recorded June 18, 1965, released August 1966, and 4 of 6 comps by Mobley himself. I actually just spun the A side of this right before I came on to talk to you guys. It's phenomenal. It is a 1981 Japanese pressing. Again, fun inserts and whatnot on the Japanese pressings, and one of the things that makes so many of these Japanese pressings so fun, besides the great sound, is the fun inserts and the OBIs. And this one, again, without OBI, but it's not really that important at the end of the day. I've got, the best sounding record that I could afford at the time, the best sounding copy I could afford at the time of this great album. And once again, it'll hold me over until I get my original someday. But this one, again, serious. So, hey, maybe one day it'll be mine, and if not, I've got a great present. We'll see. Last but not least was one I definitely never see talked about, and it's a damn shame because this is a really great album. When people talk about Mobley, they tend to talk about, again, Soul Station, Roll Call, The Turnaround, Workout, No Room for Squares. A couple of the ones that I, showed you earlier, a couple of the earlier ones. But most people don't talk about the later 60s stuff and on from Hank Mobley, and this one in particular, High Voltage, was recorded October 9th, 1967, and released March of 1968. It is killer, and all 6 compositions by Mr. Mobley himself. Sadly, not an original pressing. I don't know if I showed you guys a single original pressing, I just realized that. But I've worked so hard to get my original pressings for the likes of Roll Call and Soul Station and whatnot, that these haven't fell in line for me yet. I think this will probably be the first one that I can accomplish. I'm pretty sure this is a second stereo. I could be wrong. It's got that black and blue label on it, which why I don't like the black and blue label as much as I like the classic original blue and white Blue Note label. The records all sound fantastic. They really do, guys, and you can find them for a whole lot cheaper. So what I did with this video was I managed to not only talk about 5 underrated and underappreciated albums by one of my favorite jazz musicians of all time, and Hank Mobley, but I managed to give you guys 5 reissues, because you don't have to buy the holy shit original pressings like what your boy buys. This one's a Liberty press on the black and blue label. I think it's a second stereo, maybe a third. I could be wrong. Cheaper alternative, great sound. Dippin, of course, Japanese press, 1981. Great sound, cheaper alternative. It's a far cheaper alternative. Peck and Time, Japanese pressing, far cheaper alternative. Okay, now the prices are going up on these classic records. So this one's still a cheaper alternative to the original, but it's not the cheapest version that you can get of this one. You can find cheaper. And then, of course, once again, another Japanese pressing, 1983, from Hank Mobley with Donald Byrd and Lee Morgan. So, didn't intentionally pick out 5 reissues for you. I just wanted to pick out 5 albums I don't feel get enough love from the great and legendary Hank Mobley. And just so managed to talk about 2 different things. So anyway, gotta love that, right? Not only do I get to celebrate the great middleweight champion of the tenor saxophone, who unfortunately departed us, I want to say 1985 or 86, I can't remember which year it was, at the age of 55. Played all the way up until a couple of months before he passed, actually, but was in bad health. And cheers and a salute to one of my all-time favorite jazz musicians, the great and legendary middleweight champion of the tenor saxophone, Hank Mobley. And for you guys who are not familiar with Hank Mobley at all, then I would, obviously suggest, maybe Soul Station or a Roll Call, probably. Our Workout is like, your intros to Mobley. Yeah, I'd say so. But for any of you guys who are already fans, you've got a few of those that I just mentioned. Branch out to some of the 5 that I just talked about, because I don't see those get nearly enough love here in the VC. So today, I'm a couple of days belated on Hank's birthday, obviously. I want to say Hank's birthday was either 2 or 3 days ago. I'm not positive. I've been meaning to do this video ever since. Just haven't had a chance. But today, if you haven't done it already, if you weren't aware that his birthday was 2 or 3 days ago, spin a little Hank Mobley today, guys. Throw it on, turn it up, get yourself your favorite beverage, and enjoy one of the greatest jazz musicians, one of the most versatile, one of the most well-respected and well-renowned jazz musicians on earth, underappreciated as well at the same time. And just sit back and enjoy. Until next time, until next video, happy birthday, Hank. Keep dropping that needle, you guys.